Chapter 2 in Mushroomland. Now all the kingdom next to the fairyland was miserable, and all the people were murmuring, and the king and queen were nearly melted in tears. They thought of all ways they could recover their poor daughter, and at last the queen hit on a plan. "My dear," she said to the king, "let us offer to give our daughter for a wife to any prince who will find her and bring her home." "Who will want to marry a girl they can't see?" said the king. "If they have not married pretty girls they can see, they won't care for poor Niente." "Never mind, we can only try," said the queen. So she sent out messengers into all the world, and sent a picture of the princess everywhere, and proclaimed that the beautiful Princess Niente, and no less than 3/4 of the kingdom, would be given to the prince that could find the princess and bring her home. And there was to be a great tournament, or a sham fight at the palace, to amuse all the princes before they went on the search. So many princes gathered together, all full of hope, and they rode against each other with spears and swords, and knocked each other about, and afterwards dined, danced, and made merry. Some fairy knights, too, came over the border, and they fought with spears, riding beetles and grasshoppers instead of horses. Here's a picture of the joust tournaments between two fairy knights. By all these warlike exercises, they increased their courage till they felt brave enough to fight all the ghosts and all the giants, if they could only save the beautiful princess. Well, the tournaments were over, and off all the princes went into fairyland. What sunny sights they saw in fairyland! They saw a great snail race, the snails running so fast that some of the fairy jockeys fell off in the grass. They saw a fairy boy dancing with a squirrel, and they found all the beasts and birds quite friendly and kind, and were able to talk to other people. This was a way in old times, but now no beasts talk, and no birds, except parrots. Now among all this gallant army of princes, one was ugly, and he looked old and bold, and the rest laughed at him, and called him the Prince Comical. But he had a kind heart. One day, when he was out walking alone, and thinking what he could do to find the princess, he saw 3 sad boys teasing a dragonfly. They had got hold of one of his legs, and were pulling at it with all their might. Then the Prince Comical saw this, and he ran up and drove the bad boys away, and rubbed the limb of the dragonfly, till he gave up groaning and crying. Then the dragonfly sat up and said in a weak voice, "You have been very kind to me. What can I do for you?" "Oh, help me," said the prince. "And to find Princess Niente. You fly everywhere. Don't you know where she is?" "I don't know," said the dragonfly mournfully. "I have never flown this far, but I know that you are in a very dangerous part of fairyland, and I will take you to an aged black beetle who can give you the best advice." So saying, the dragonfly walked off with the prince until they came to the black beetle. "Can you tell this prince," said the dragonfly, "where Princess Niente is hidden?" "No, it's in Mushroomland," said the beetle, "but you will want a guide." "Will you be my guide?" asked the prince. "Yes," said the beetle, "but what about your friends, the other princes?" "Oh, they must come too. It would not be fair to leave them behind," said the Prince Comical. He was the soul of honor, and though the others laughed at him, he would not take advantage of his luck, and run away from them. "Well, you are a true knight," said the Black Beetle, "but before we go into the depths of the Mushroom Kingdom, you come here with me." Then the Black Beetle pointed out to the prince a great smooth round thing a long way off. "This is the first mushroom of Mushroomland," said the beetle. Now come with me and you will see what you will see. So the prince followed the beetle until they came to the mushroom. Climb up and look over, said the beetle. So the prince climbed up and looked over. There he saw a crowned king, sound asleep. Here is Prince Comical. You see, he's very handsome. And here's the king, so sound asleep. Try to awaken him, said the beetle. Just try. So the prince tried to waken the king, but it was of no use. Now, take warning by that, said the black beetle, and never go to sleep under a mushroom in the mushroom country. You'll never wake, and if you do, how the princess Niente is found again. Well, Prince Comical said he would remember that, and he and the beetle went off to find the other princes. They were disposed to laugh at being led by a black beetle, but one of them, who was very learned, reminded them that armies had been led before the woodpeckers, wolves, and hummingbirds. As they marched through the mushroom kingdom, twilight came upon them again, and the elves came out for their dance, for elves only dance at dusk, and they could not help joining them, which is very imprudent, as they had plenty to do the next day, and it would have been wiser if they'd gone to sleep. The elves went on with their play till midnight. Exactly the midnight, the elves stopped their play and undressed and got up into the boughs of a big tree and went to sleep. You may wonder how the elves know when it was midnight, as there are no clocks in the mushroom world, of course. But they cannot really help knowing, as at exactly at 12, the mushrooms begin to grow, and the little mushrooms come up. Now the elves covered every branch of the tree, as you see in the picture, and the princes did not know where to lie down, and at last they decided to lie down under a very big mushroom. It was in vain that the black beetle and Prince Comical warned them to beware. Nonsense, they said. You may sleep in the open air if you like, but we make ourselves comfortable here. And so they lay down under the shelter of a mushroom, and Prince Comical slept in the open air. In the morning he awakened, feeling very well and hungry, and set off to call his friends. But he might have well called the mushroom itself. There they all lay under its shade, and some of them had their eyes open, not one of them could move. The prince shook them, he dragged them, he shouted at them, he pulled their hair. But the more he shouted and dragged, the louder they snored, and the worst of it was that he could not pull them out of the shadow of the magic mushroom. So there he had to leave them sound asleep. The prince thought the elves could help him, perhaps, so he went and asked them how to awaken his friends. They were all awake, and the fairies were dressing the baby elves, but they said only, "Oh, it's their fault for sleeping under the mushroom. Anybody would know that it's a stupid thing to do. Besides, we have no time to attend to them, as the sun will be up soon, and we must get these babies dressed and be off before then." "Why, where are you going to?" said the prince. Nobody knows where we go in the daytime," said the elves, "and nobody does." "Well, what am I to do?" said the prince to the black beetle. "I don't know where the princess is," said the beetle, "but the bluebird is very wise, and he may know. But now your best plan is to steal 2 of the bluebird's eggs, and not give them back until he tells you all he can." So off they set for the bluebird's nest, and to make a long story short, the prince stole 2 of the eggs, and would not give them back till the bird promised to tell him all he knew. And the end of it was that the bird carried him to the court of the queen of the mushroom land, and she was sitting in her crown on a mushroom, and she looked rather funny and mischievous. Here you see the prince with his hat off, kissing the queen's hair, and asking for the princess. "She is quite safe," said the queen of the mushroom land. "But what a funny boy you are. You're not half handsome enough for Princess Niente." The poor prince blushed. "They call me Prince Comical," he said. "I know I'm not half good enough." You are good enough for anything, said the Queen of the Mushroom Land. But you might be prettier. Then she touched him with her wand. He became as handsome a prince as was ever seen, in a beautiful red silk doublet, slashed with white, and a long gold-colored robe. Now you will do for my Princess Niente, said the Queen of the Mushroom Land. Bluebird. And here she whispered in the bird's ear. Now take him to Princess Niente. So they flew. And they flew. All day and all night. And next day they came to a green bower, all full of fairies and butterflies and funny little people. And there, with her long yellow hair around her, there sat Princess Niente. And the Prince Charming laid his crown at her feet and knelt on one knee and asked the princess to be his love and his lady. And she did not refuse him. So they were married in the Church of Elves, and the glowworms set as torches, and all the bells and the flowers were made to merry peal. And soon they were to travel home, to the king and the queen.